So we can all agree that we're boxer briefs.
Boxer briefs.
Gentlemen.
Yeah,
Boxer
yeah,
briefs.
all the way.
Let's check in with the listeners.
Hey, listeners.
Listeners, remember, you can always reach us at GameScoop at IGN.com, just like the wife.
You do that hand thing, but then he doesn't ever, like, it's usually doesn't.
One day he's going to. One day he's going to put the text up as I do it.
Just like Evan Rothwell did. Evan says, back in the calm and timid summer months, a little event called E3 was held. You guys remember this?
I remember E3.
I've heard of that.
Microsoft stood before us all and spoke of this magical Android/iPhone app that would give us all kinds of additional information and let us control our Xboxes with our phones. Just wondering how that was coming along since the Xbox dashboard update has arrived. So he's talking about SmartGlass.
Yeah.
The service that Microsoft announced at E3.
Yes.
Then went very quiet.
Very, like the quietest.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a second screen experience for games and other entertainment on your Xbox console, right?
Yeah.
What's going on with this, Mitch?
So it's interesting that he notes that it's an iPhone and Android app because it's like when that comes out, and SmartGlass launches on October 26th with Windows 8. When Windows 8 launches,
And that's Surface.
And that's when the Surface tablet launches, and then you'll be able to use your Surface tablet with SmartGlass, with your Xbox, with your Windows 8 PC, and then no iOS and Android, not for a while.
Well, but when they first announced it, they said it would just be available on all.
Yeah, so the
tablets,
idea,
right?
The idea was that they were going to launch it with Surface, and you would buy the tablet, the slate, because Microsoft calls it a slate. They don't like the word tablet. But I think it's a long-term plan to add it to various devices.
Yeah.
We went to an Xbox Music appointment. We saw Xbox Music. It was running on Surface,
Which
and
is apparently terrible, right?
it's not great. It's at least not for Xbox users. Like in a year, when it's on iPhone and Android, like it'll be great. It'll be a total Spotify competitor. But they had it running on a Surface, and we asked them like, hey, so when will we see like SmartGlass running on my iPad so I can use it with the device that I already own?
What's an iPad?
Yeah. Well, no, they said, within a year. Like that's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like does that mean like 11 months? What does that mean? So we'll see when it comes to iOS. Because I'm not going to buy a Surface. Like I have no reason to upgrade.
Did you see the actual SmartGlass? Like, did you see any examples of it running live? Like the examples they showed at E3 were cool.
Yeah. So I mean, we saw it with music. So what they had with music was like you could browse the library while music played from your TV or your surround sound, and then you would like select songs and it would transmit it to your Xbox.
Oh.
So I mean, that's the basic functionality of it with music. But we also saw it with Dance Central. We went to an event and we saw it running, and it basically runs like a karaoke playlist where you just select songs and then Damon and Greg go up and dance like they do. And I would say, oh, you guys are going to play Macarena, YMCA, The Shuffle, whatever songs I pick from Dance Central 3.
Sure.
I'm picking real winners here for you
Yeah,
guys. So I picked that playlist, and then you guys say, oh, we would like to play this, and you pick your mode from the game screen, or you deny it, and we move to the next song on the list. It's really simple. It's a really basic, like, ground level experiment for functionality. We're getting there. Slowly but surely.
It's a Kinect game.
Yes.
So I don't understand what functionality SmartGlass provides that you can't do with just Kinect.
Right, you can't, I mean, you build a playlist within the iPad, like you're having a party, it's a great big fun time with all of us.
Oh, so you can pass it around?
Yeah, so
you're,
like
you're
add
playing
songs?
and
Like one
Justin and I
person's
are
on the couch picking the
Yeah,
next
and they
song.
pick a
see that,
song
I
for
can see
you.
that, I can see
You can just pick songs individually, but this just lets you queue up as many as you need.
I mean, I think SmartGlass and actually the Wii U, to a lesser extent, have they're latching on to this trend that, people are, when they're watching TV, they're not just watching TV anymore. Everybody, like it's one of those things that's been lurking like just beneath the surface. Like everyone does this, but they're not talking about it. And companies haven't figured out that you're always on your phone when you're watching television. I never just watch a show. I'm always picking up my smartphone. I'm looking at tweets. I'm looking at this. What was that actor in? I'm going to his IMDb
We're always
page.
going to IMDb while we watch shows.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of a smart, like younger people, that's how they consume things now, is they always have this second screen. And so SmartGlass, if there's shows and games that take advantage of it, I think that could be really cool. But
HBO's doing that right now with second screen experience. They always warn you before Boardwalk Empire or whatever starting.
Have you checked it out?
No. I got things to do.
I know, yeah.
They do it for Walking Dead too.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, wow.
That was one of the things they promoted at E3 was like, hey, you like Game of Thrones? Look at the world. This is a map of the place. This is this character. Here's a bio. Here's all this information about the land.
The cool thing was they would have a map where you could see like pinpoints where the characters were in the world because it's so confusing.
It could be really cool. They just have to they just have to support it.
Yeah. So obviously it needs to come to iOS and Android. Not that many people have Windows 8 phones. The other thing is, and this is the question I asked at E3. I'm like, this is awesome. Microsoft's doing this cool thing, but like the people that make Game of Thrones and the people that make these television shows have to support it. Like, how many of them are really like? Why? I'm the producer of Game of Thrones. Why do I bother including this? Yeah. I mean, do they have to get paid? Like,
I don't know how you find the time to do that between editing IT and wireless.
You know, I just
Fan of your work.
So at E3 they were showing it off with Halo 4.
Yeah.
that was cool
All this
too.
like sort of
Stats
supplemental
and stuff like that.
content. for
Basically,
Halo
like the
4.
Bungie.net content that you would get with Halo
Yeah.
3. It's just like stats and like here's your current loadout, here's your total kill count, here's all the medals you've earned, and that stuff's great. And some ideas we threw around the office, like Gears of War Judgment, would just be like a leaderboard instead of hitting back to open your leaderboard.
Yeah.
Just kind of glance down.
Stuff like that's great.
But then like Halo 4 is just around the corner, and we haven't heard anything about SmartGlass and how
all
it's
the
going to
stuff-
use it. Like,
All the stuff they showed at E3 at the bottom is like just like this is prototype. This is probably not what this is
Because E3 is
actually
a bunch
gonna
of
be.
bullshit, Damon. All the press conferences are a bunch of bullshit. How many times Sony shows the PlayStation Vita and their remote playing Killzone? Well, you can't really do that. That was just their test. And like Konami's like, oh yeah, we have Metal Gear 4 running on the Vita. It only took blah blah weeks, and then that's not out. Don't worry about that. That's not coming.
You'll never do that.
I mean, I think we're going to see lots and lots of cool first-party uses of SmartGlass from Xbox, and we probably won't see that much cool from third parties or other people outside of Microsoft.
Yeah.
well, if it's supposed to launch in a week, I don't think many people out there know about it.
Probably not.
So
Halo, I mean, we'll see the Halo stuff. If that's super cool, then that'll maybe get people on board.
there's a lot of hype around the Surface tablet. So if they
Is there?
they need it's at least hype. I don't know how well it'll sell, but it's
Yeah.
at least a high-profile new gadget,
Sure.
new tablet that's about to launch.
People are
new
totally,
slates.
I mean, it's the same price as an iPad. It looks comparable, in terms of specs. And
That's the one that's like not a real PC, right? That's one that's just a
the
basic
new
tablet.
It uses Windows RT. I think
Yeah.
that's what the iOS is called.
The tablet
Or
that I
OS.
don't want.
Maybe they can use that. They would have to use that to make people aware of SmartGlass, or else
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do with it. Nobody's going to know that even exists.
Yeah, unless they're watching GameScoop.
Yeah, right. Let's continue to talk about Microsoft and portable devices, and bring in Sony.
Okay.
Where are you going with this, David?
I just get up and I'm like, oh, no. Wake me when you want to talk about comics.
This is Zeke Wright.
Zeke! Good old Zeke!
You and Zeke go way back. ZW, you call him. Z-dubs.
Z-dubs.
Do you think that in order to keep up with Sony and Nintendo in the next generation, Microsoft has to release a portable gaming device?
I think the Vita is the evidence that you do not.
Yeah.
That's a really weird question, Zeke.
Yeah. No, I don't think Microsoft has to do that.
No, I
at
think they
all.
will be far better off if they do not.
As long as Microsoft doesn't fuck it up, they will be great.
If they cannot torpedo their sales.
If they just do the minimal amount of work to get them to the next console, they'll be just dandy.
If they just keep selling Xbox 360s like they're doing, they'll be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all agreed that a dedicated handheld gaming console, that's its primary or its only purpose is to play games. That's probably a concept that's not going to be around too much longer.
It's true, yeah. The 3DS has been successful, not as successful as the DS. I think you're just going to see sort of a slide in dedicated handheld gaming.
I'd like to see Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft, or one of the dedicated games makers come out with like a true competitor to the App Store. Like if Nintendo wants to if they want to do another Game Boy or another DS, I'd like to see it have a very democratized App Store where people can just put games on this
Well, I mean,
Nintendo
that's PlayStation
console.
Mobile, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what PlayStation Mobile's deal is. Now you can get the SDK right for $99, just like the App Store. You can be a kid at home and just make an app, make a game, and try to get it out.
And we're seeing more downloadable Vita games also.
Oh, yeah.
App Store games. There's more overlap there than there was. I don't think they're going far enough yet.
Sure, I think PlayStation Mobile's in its infancy for sure, and most of the shit they're putting over are just minis that suck.
See, but it has to grow, right? Like the problem with Microsoft is that it has like the XNA indie stuff, where developers pay like $100, they get in the XNA program, they make indie games, they publish them to Xbox Live and the indie channel for $1, and it's like, this is a great system, it's very mobile-based, but it never changed, it never evolved.
Yeah.
The games were mostly like throwaway garbage.
Well, there's some really good ones.
There are
Applejack
absolutely
was
some
really
great
good.
games.
Mostly.
I mean, like the App Store, right?
Carnival,
like a lot of them are
Showtime.
bad.
Max
Carnival,
Fun Times,
Showtime's
I believe.
great.
Yeah, Max Fun Times.
There's some good stuff in the indie store. But yeah, like a mobile store, the vast
Microsoft
majority
never
of
promoted
is
it.
bad. Yeah, and they never promote it.
If you're just an average Xbox user out there, how would you even find that content on your Xbox? Like it's
good
buried in there.
Yeah.
If you can't even find the Xbox Live Arcade anymore, Microsoft has gone to great lengths to hide that content from people.
It's true. It's very strange, in their push to, become more of like the center of your digital living room, and they want to own your music and television and all of that. Like I went to go buy Mark of the Ninja, and like I couldn't figure out how to buy it for like a while.
It's a Kinect ploy, man, because the Bing search is really good on Xbox. You got an Xbox Bing.
Xbox,
that's,
Bing.
Xbox Bing, Mark of the Ninja.
That's your little newsboy voice.
Oh.
That's the voice everyone uses to talk to Kinect.
That's my impression of Colin Moriarty doing an impression of an Xbox
That's
fanboy.
true. We all do.
Yeah.
When I do the Xbox Bing voice or Xbox.
I didn't know that's where that came from.
I'm doing the Colin voice.
Yep.
That he does.
Yeah, speaking of the Vita,
Yeah.
this is Sean Gass.
He's a gas man, huh, Sean? You got a funny last name. Dumbass.
Says one of the selling points of the Vita is bringing console experiences to the handheld. Is it possible for Sony to port their older PS3 games, such as Infamous and Uncharted 1, to their Vita and possibly re-release them through the PSN store?
You'd like to believe so.
I would like that very much.
Yeah, it's one of those things I'd really love them to start. I mean, it's the one thing where I'd love to see it, I guess, if it had new trophies, and if it didn't, I wouldn't care that much. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. I don't know how many people miss those games. If you're dialed into having a PlayStation Vita, you probably have a PS3. And so hopefully you've already played these great games that are like $20 now, like as greatest hits. Probably cheaper than that with PlayStation Plus and downloads.
Yeah, Infamous is like 5 years old. Just pay $10 for it or let it go.
Yeah.
You can't have it on the go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what the Vita needs, right, is original content to succeed. Right now, if you just keep porting over old PlayStation 3 stuff, you're going to get people who are like, oh, I like that game before, I'll play it again or play half of it again. And it's not really going to suck people in. It's not going to. You have to give people a reason to buy the PlayStation Vita. That's what it's lacking right now. There's no, holy shit, you have to play PlayStation Vita, Mitch, because of. It's like Sound Shapes is awesome. Sound Shapes is amazing. That's a hard sell of, you need to buy this $250/$300 console to play this $10 download.
For Metal Gear Solid HD, which I own on 360, which is remakes of games I love.
Isn't Sound Shapes on PSN?
It is, and it's a PS3 game as well. And that's the other thing. That's the other way they're hurting themselves.
Mutant Blobs is now on PS3 as well, right?
That I do not think is true.
I may have just made that up.
Mutant Blobs, the original Mutant Blob. There was an original Mutant Blobs about a blob, and then.
This is Andrew Hanwell. He says, I've listened to Scoop for well over a year now. I've always wondered where the quote, "Be where I live" from the show opening comes from. Can you tell me? Anybody know here?
Yeah. It's
Do you really
it's
know?
the Genesis game.
No.
No?
Is it also from that movie?
No.
The movie where they stole the Duke Nukem lines is what I'm thinking of.
They Live?
Yeah.
No, it's not from
Okay.
that. It's from an early 80s arcade game called Sinistar.
I am Sinistar. Beware, I live. Run, run, run. Beware, coward. Run, coward. I hunger.
Oh, that's right. That was like the first instance of a game talking to you, right?
There were lots of digitized voice samples in there. It's actually really scary because it's like a top-down shooter and you're on a ship, and then this evil, like, sort of malevolent spaceship that's alive called Sinistar is eventually going to come and chase you down, and he's like, run, run. It's always
It's
great.
very courteous of him to give you warnings.
Yeah, it's always like really.
Beware, run.
Yeah, it's good. And then when he actually shows up, he like screams, he like yells at you. Pretty intense.
This scare
Damon's
little
got
Damie
little
back in the
goosebumps
arcade
on his
days.
arms.
Pretty intense.
Little Damon is all freaked out now.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where that line comes from. Greg, how do you think we pronounce this viewer's name?
Oh.
It's Aditya Najarwada.
Yep, I think that's right.
Aditya asks, I've always wondered, what's in the mysterious cup? What do each of y'all drink on the show?
My cup's not really mysterious. It's very clear.
Yeah, but it's not obvious what that is. That could be anything.
It's a tea.
You're
It's tea.
drinking
It's just tea.
your morning apple juice.
This is awake tea.
Awake tea.
Awake.
Is it making you feel awake?
Yeah, it's dark. Caffeine, like a punch in the face.
We do. So we're
Strongest
filming
tea
Game
we
Scoop
have.
in the morning, and then Damon, does his magic.
You're revealing all the secrets.
I know. I feel like people. So we film it in the morning, and so this is usually coffee.
It's 4 a.m. right now.
Yes, it is actually midnight.
It's Game Scoop is a morning show, although it doesn't air in the mornings, but we shoot it as a morning show.
We need to have like windows with people like out back with signs.
It's
Yeah.
Clements.
He's protesting.
Can I be on the show?
It'd be nice to get to the point maybe where we live streams Game Scoop in the morning. So it actually was a morning show that you could tune into.
You wake up.
I like
Wake
that.
up. 2 scoops.
You can have a coffee with us.
Yeah,
It's true, yeah. I drink my coffee with cream and sugar.
me too.
Not too sweet though.
Nope.
I take a black.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like my women.
Yeah.
I'm with
Hot.
Black.
Game over, Greg.
I fluctuate. I used to be lots of cream, lots of sugar. Then went to black, and now I'm going back to just cream.
But you're a big tea
But
guy.
I heard once you
I am
go
now.
back, you
Yeah.
never go
I'm
back.
trying to cut out coffee. Coffee's bad for your teeth, man.
Yeah,
Well,
it is. That's
Everything's
true.
bad for your teeth.
Tea is great.
Eat
for your
blueberry
teeth.
for
I don't know if that's true.
antioxidants, but it'll rot your teeth. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's why I just eat chicken.
Every few years, you just spring for a teeth whitening. It's fine.
Perfect. Damon's got it figured out.
Aditya says, just to be a part of the show, I drink tea.
Oh, good.
So he's a Mitch Dyer type of guy.
Yeah.
Or girl.
Yeah, we're not sure.
Cyborg.
It's actually a dog emailing in.
I would love it if a dog emailed
I'm a
us.
dog and I love tea. It's my favorite drink.
Woof woof.
This is Anthony Lozano from Odessa, Texas.
Okay.
He says, love your show. My question is, what are your opinions or emotions towards the video game rating system, and should retailers ID in order to allow a rated M game to be purchased? I, for one, work retail. I find that most parents don't even know what they are buying till I ask for an ID. And they usually ask for what? Then I usually turn the box around and say, it's rated M for use of drugs, sexual themes, language. Most are surprised. Some don't care what their kids play. What's your take?
I haven't thought about the ESRB
So
rating
that's the thing.
forever.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. So we're all adults. We've been adults for many years, so we can buy whatever games we want, and we don't have kids, so we don't think about that stuff.
I mean, I sometimes I do though, because I look like I'm 14 years old, so I still get from time to time ID'd at stores to buy
video games.
Yeah,
Interesting.
not so much since I moved here, but back home, like in my college town, they were pretty aggressive about IDing you for buying games.
Yeah.
My general thought is that it's totally up to parents
I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
what their kids consume.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the ESRB is good. The reason the ESRB exists actually is to prevent, the games industry decided to self-regulate. Okay, we'll rate our games and we'll make people, be a certain age to buy games to prevent the government from getting involved. And so, in that stance, just like movie ratings, like that's obviously a very good thing for our business. It's good for us to be responsible and. Game graphics, man. Like an M-rated game today is very different than like an M-rated game when we were growing up. Like think about Doom.
When we were growing up, there wasn't M-rated games.
Well, I mean, there were. I mean, you're right, but think about a game like Doom that would have been rated M, and that's like so quaint and silly and dumb now compared to like the really like terrible stuff you can see
even
in some
now,
video
like,
games
pretty much
now.
anything.
The range in the an M-rated game has such range. Like Halo is an M-rated game.
That's always a little
but
shenanigans
then
to me.
like Max Payne 3, which slow motion shooting a guy in the face with an Uzi for 50 rounds is like really gross, really violent, like, kind of disgustingly so. Like that is on the same level as Halo, which is
yeah. I mean, I've always
blue
thought Halo
aliens
should be a
bleeding
T
orange.
game to begin with.
What'd you say?
I think Halo should be rated T, not M.
I agree completely.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that it's not.
Yeah.
So
It's all that sexual tension between Cortana and Master Chief.
Yeah.
I read
yeah, I
about
guess
them
that's
once
Yeah.
in a magazine.
I also got Mitch and I are cursed with these baby faces, and I was like 26 years old, and I got carded to buy a M-rated game.
What's it like to have a beard, Damon?
Yeah.
It gets scratchy. I shave once a week when it starts getting itchy.
Yeah, it's really hard to kiss them.
We have a mandate tonight. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah, Paranormal Activity 4 finally.
We have a yearly standing mandate. Next year we'll go see Paranormal Activity 5, whatever
it'll be so
dumb
good.
shit
It'll
that
be
is.
set in the future.
On a spaceship.
Monday
Yeah.
games, I guess. Wednesday Gamescoop, we need to review Paranormal Activity 4.
Okay, we'll do that. This is Big Tony style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long time
I
Gamescoop
love
listener.
that.
Yeah. He asks, should free future downloadable content be considered when reviewing a game like Halo 4 with Spartan Ops?
Sure.
You think you like consider that as value that's as part of the game?
So that's
a really good
That's a
question.
really interesting challenge, right? I'm not on the Halo review, so I get to say whatever I want about this. But I mean, that's a really good example because the Spartan Ops stuff, it's episodic, it's weekly, it's substantial. It's 5 chapters, each one is like 10 minutes long. So every week you get an hour of new Halo content, new story-based Halo content. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And we're kind of figuring out right now how we're going to cover that because we can't for the review. The review goes live on November 1st.
Is it a pack-in?
Right.
Is it a pack-in like one-time use? Is it basically an online pass?
No, it's not even that. So when you get Halo 4, you get your campaign, your multiplayer, and then Spartan Ops. And in Spartan Ops, you have your first chapter. And then the week after release, chapter 2. The week after that, chapter 3. And it's just something they feed in.
Okay.
The
So
first
if I buy it
season-
used, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right. You will just get that. And you'll probably have the whole season. And it will be free because it's the first season will be free. And then after that, they're going to probably start charging.
Sure.
That's actually a really interesting question.
Yeah, because so traditionally, we review a game as
As
it
is.
is on launch day.
Sure.
You know?
I mean, this can be the same thing can happen in reverse, where EA especially is notorious for turning off the servers of online games that aren't performing. Like Madden, you get 1 year to play Madden, or maybe a lesser sports game, and then the next year's comes out and they turn off the multiplayer service for the previous year.
Sure.
And it's sort of like
Is that true for Madden?
Well, Madden might be
Probably
a
not
bad
Madden.
example because it's popular
Basketball
enough.
Just
would
making sure.
absolutely have
Yes.
NBA Live.
Yeah, it definitely happens with some of the B-tier sports games. You know, you get 1 year of online play, then you got to buy the next year, and like, you know, I don't know. So it can be a good thing if they continue supporting a title, or obviously on
Yeah.
mobile games, you know, games continue getting, you know, more and more content updates.
I mean, to me, I think you review it and talk about, you know, the lasting appeal and what is coming.
Sure.
Not that this is good or bad, but all this content is coming, and that's really
Right.
cool. This story's worked here, so I can't imagine why it wouldn't work here. It's
Sure.
similar to when we review a Little Big Planet, right? Like, it's like, hey, this is this, and these creation tools are awesome, and
Yeah.
I imagine people are going to do amazing things with this, but
And
you don't
even
have
if
the
they,
game yet.
Yeah,
even if they don't, like Little Big Planet is still fun on its own.
Sure,
And
sure,
Halo, you know,
it's going to be fun. Yeah, Halo
when we
5
review
is fun with
Halo,
it.
we will review it as is, and there's a lot there to cover. And even if, like, you know, the week-to-week stuff turns out like, this is kind of boring and not really interesting at all, like, that's not going to affect the review, I think. Even if that was all available, that might not affect the overall score or the impression, because
Yeah.
it is such a small component of a big whole.
I mean, I think my gut tells me that probably is something, and this isn't like some sort of formal IGM review policy, but my personal stance is
The
that
JD stance.
The JD stance is that you do sort of consider that, you know, it goes into the replay value, it goes into
Yep.
the longevity of the game, and that's one of the many, many things that influences your score of a game. It's not like, because of Spartan Ops, Halo, you know, we're going to bump its
It's
score
a
by
9 instead of an 8.
Right, exactly. But I do think, you know, you're considering how long are people going to want to play this
Yeah.
game? What's the value for $60? You know, what are the different modes? And that's one of the things that's like, yeah, that's, you know, pretty cool.
The risk is that it's just a promise
Yeah.
from the publisher, right?
Sure.
And that they may or may not deliver on.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's a fair point.
So it's like,
I mean, I think about on the mobile side, you know, Rovio has a history of supporting their titles. So in something like Bad Piggies, I don't remember exactly what I said in my review, but I think I said, yeah, you know, I'm sure we're going to see more free DLC down the line, and the game's just going to keep getting better. And I think that's a fair, you know, they could make a liar out of me if they chose not to continue updating the game, but you go based on, you know, their track record, and you do the best you can.
more and more, we're going to see games as service.
Games as a service,
Yeah.
yep.
So it's
Platforms.
like that we are going to have to deal with that more and more.
That's the
going
future.
forward.
Again,
I
I
wonder
mean,
if Spartan
some-
Ops. This is just a really interesting question to me because it's not something I'd thought too much about.
Good job, Big Tony Styles.
Yeah,
Big
Killing it.
doors.
I wonder if they're setting up Spartan Ops like that could be something you subscribe to in Halo 5.
It absolutely
for
could be,
example.
yeah.
You know, if people like it, if people playing it, and Bungie is notorious for tracking really, really elaborate stats and knowing exactly. 343. The Halo development
Yes.
team is notorious for tracking.
People who make Halo games.
Yes, they know everything about the people that play the games. Every
Yes.
bullet that's fired, every minute they spend in the game.
Color of their hair.
The color of
How many women they've slept with.
Whoa.
0.
or men. Come on. So if Spartan Ops is popular, yeah, I would totally expect in Halo 5 that could be look for $10 a month.
Yeah.
You'll get.
Or even sooner with Halo 4. I mean, they call this the free segment Season 1.
Oh,
Nothing
interesting.
is stopping them from doing Season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before Halo 5 comes out.
Yeah, cool.
Our last question this week comes from Adam Williams. He says, I'm 25 and a city planner living in the north of the UK. Looking to shake up my life, pursue my video games passion, in particular, journalism. I have a few questions. Number one, how competitive is the games journalist market in the US? Is it even a thing?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
very.
a
It's
thing,
very
and it's very competitive.
Yes,
It is competitive as hell.
There are very few slots. There are very few job openings. Even for freelancers, like outlets like IGN and other outlets find a select group of freelancers that they trust and tend to go back to that pool a lot of the time. Editor positions don't really open up unless suddenly they have more money to support it or someone leaves.
There are many, many more people that want the job than
Yes.
there are jobs available.
100% true.
I think editorial staffs, the trend is shrinking. IGN has one of the largest editorial staffs in the business, and it's smaller today than it was a few years ago. And I think an interesting, someone told me once that there are more people making a living as rock stars than there are doing what we do.
Wow.
Go be a rock star,
So yeah.
because that sounds way cooler.
I'm burned out of being a city planner at 25.
Pick up that guitar.
It'd be great if he got hired in his first review of SimCity.
There are probably less people writing about games full time than are on an NFL football team, probably.
There are more people
Well-
in space right now.
That checks out.
But let's say he goes for it. His second question is, he says, I spend much of my time writing, in particular, critiquing buildings. He's a building reviewer.
That's awesome.
All right.
We should try that. We
Good,
should go
good,
downtown
not
and
great
review a building.
Windows. 7.5 overall.
He asks, is this a transferable skill that would be looked upon if I were to, hypothetically, apply for an editorial position somewhere?
Can we find out by reverse engineering this and next week we review a building?
buildings.
Adam is his name.
Adam Williams.
I would say that's probably not a transferable skill, and I'm not trying to be discouraging. I'm just saying, like,
it's not.
I don't know at what level he critiques it though. He might be like, the structural integrity of this is garbage. Tear it down. Whereas we're like, and the multiplayer is kind of boring.
Tear it down.
So, I mean, the nice thing about the internet in 2012, and this is the advice I give, we get this question a lot, is that there's nothing stopping you. Just start writing. Start writing
start a
today.
blog.
Exactly.
Start a blog and
My
put it
IGN.
online, and the honest truth is, if you're adamsgamereviews.net, like no one's really going to read that, but you get to see, you get to hone your craft, and you get to see whether you really like this or not. Playing a game for review is very different than just playing it for fun, and that's what, I guess I can't speak for you guys, but that's what I did, is I wrote about games for fun before I did it
too.
professionally.
Completely.
And Adam he notes here, he is a My IGN user, Rebo0. So that would be a great place to start writing blogs about games, start reviewing games, because we actually have a team of people who are looking for, My IGN power users. We highlight their content. We'll post we'll post user blogs to the blog reel on IGN, and we're always like looking for talent that way.
And that's not just like
IGN.
that's just not just like a pipe dream of like, a blog on My IGN and maybe you will see it someday. Like, that's how Audrey Drake got a job here. She was a My IGN user and got our attention, and then got hired. And we've done guides, freelance work, quite a bit of freelance work from people that we found in the community. So,
absolutely. So if the job building reviewer doesn't work out,
but post some of your building reviews on your My
Yeah,
IGN blog.
I'd love to see that.
I might have asked you guys this before. Do you remember the very first thing you did, like professionally in the business?
So, but you mean like paid?
Yeah.
So I reviewed. Nope, just kidding. I wrote a column. I took over a column that Casey Lynch was running at the time for a website, our now editor-in-chief. He handed it off to me, and I reviewed games exclusively based on their achievements. Didn't consider the quality of the game. I was like, this game's awesome because its achievements are great, even if it's garbage. That was fun.
That sounds like
That was my first paid gig.
wow.
I guess the first thing I got paid for outside of school would be I did stuff for AssociatedContent.com. Just
Really?
goofy ass reviews. For
I
them.
didn't know you did some stuff for them.
Yeah.
I did stuff for my student paper.
You just said pay. Oh, you get paid though.
In college, I got a little stipend. So I have a few. So my first E3 was 2003, and that was the year Pac-Man Versus. That was the year of the IGN, the reaction guys meme, where they're like so bored. And it was my first E3, and I was like, "What? Pac-Man Versus? You can play. You can't see. You can sneak up on people as the ghosts." And I thought that was the best thing. And I wasn't paid to do that, but that was my first like big trade show. So that's one of my big memories. And then I did business news for Game Daily Biz, which was like a newsletter for game industry executives. And so I would have to write, like, so-and-so's quarterly results came out, and they lost, $12 million, and I had no idea what I was talking about or what I was doing.
I still don't know what that means.
And all these companies, they're like, their non-this and this earnings totaled this, and I'm just like copying and pasting from the press release. I don't know what's going on.
Non-GAAP profits.
Yeah, that's exactly. And then I also had to write a column about advertising in the video game industry and examples of good and bad video game ads, and that was more up my alley. I enjoyed that more.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, listeners. Remember, you can always reach us at gamescoop@ign.com. That's all the scoops we have for you this week. Everybody have a good weekend. My name is Damon Hatfield. This is IGN GameScoop, and we're out.